What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Inside Man United. A very good morning to you and happy Saturday morning. I hope you're all feeling well and trying to be good. Now it's January and all the festivities and all the madness. It's all behind us. Boring, dry January. So put the feet up and get ready for a bit of an international break. I think we're off for a couple of weeks now before the Premier League resumes. However, that doesn't stop the rumour mill from swirling around the circus that is Manchester United. Now that January's kicked in, the transfer window's upon us, and now with Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe in the hot seat, certainly when it comes to the football side of things at Manchester United, there's still plenty of news to get through. So without further ado, the headlines for today. Today's Manchester United headlines. Ratcliffe in talks with teenage sensation as Man United hurtle towards €110 million double deal. And another Manchester United youth team prospect could make his debut against Wigan. Sir Jim Ratcliffe already proving he is entirely different to Glazers when he meets with staff to introduce himself and the ideas Ineos has for the club. United offer Ten Hag burden to Barcelona as betrayal sees rivals reject £17 million January transfer. And we could replace Casemiro with one of South America's biggest jewels. The Jadon Sancho Borussia Dortmund saga finally comes to a conclusion with deals being finalised with details to come. All that coming up. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple of days for United with the takeover now being completed and the window now open. There's been, lots of rumours going around about players that could be coming in, and very reliable sources having completely contradictory reports of Martial is staying, his contract's being extended. No, he's actually being offered around and he's gone. United don't want him. United don't want Varane. They want to sell him. No, they want him to sign a new contract but on severely reduced wages. It's no one really knows what's going on. Jadon Sancho, that was supposed to be done and dusted yesterday. Then there was snags hit in the deal. Now it seems that we've gotten over the line with that, and every centre half and young player around Europe and even South America is being linked with United at the moment, and it's quite clear that United and Ineos are definitely investing and banking on youth, based on the profile of the players that have been linked to United, whether it's up top, midfield, or across the back line. The theme is very, very similar. All under the age of 22, all very highly thought of at their respective clubs, seem to be the kind of darlings of Europe. But we've seen this before with other players. But, someone's got to be the jewels. Someone's going to be coming through as the next generational talents. And it seems that these players are the profile that United want to go for. Young, potentially expensive, hopefully not too much, but hopefully players that can be brought in on reasonably low wages. When I mean low, I mean, 90 to 120 grand, still pretty high, but certainly not the type of wages that, Anthony coming from the Netherlands as a completely unproven talent and obviously vastly overpriced, but coming in at 200 grand a week. I mean, these transfers have to work out, or you as a club are going to get hosed by the player or get hosed by the club that you want to sell them to afterwards. And the only way it's not going to financially ruin you is if the player works out. And then if they work out, why would you want to be selling them? So there is no scenario in which those kind of contractual terms will benefit the club in no way, shape or form. So it seems high time that United are going to be vastly changing their transfer strategy. And some interesting details on Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos' meeting with Manchester United today. At Carrington, they took one of the lounge rooms, brought in all the staff for a bit of a all-hands meeting, as they called them, to kind of introduce themselves and deliver a little bit of a mission statement and to let everyone know what they're there to do. And apparently it went over incredibly well with huge sighs of relief and a lot of kind of excitement that things are going to be. It seems things are going to be changing around here. So yeah, a lot to get into there. But listen, let's crack on and start looking at some of these news stories. So kicking us off is a story from Team Talk with James Marshman, and this came out a day ago, but it may have skipped over some people's heads. And it's a news item I'm very interested in. These are two players which this channel has reported on before: Lenny Yoro and Yavi Guerra. These are two of the kind of finest talents coming through, certainly in the defensive realm, with Yavi Guerra being a defensive midfielder, and Lenny Yoro, the new hotshot centre half coming through the ranks. So it goes on to say here that these are kind of the young replacements for Varane and Casemiro should they find a suitable club in January. It seems that, I mean, it's well documented that Jim Ratcliffe has always bemoaned the transfer of Casemiro and thought it was a financial suicide to bring on a player despite his caliber, but at his age profile and everything. I mean, we know this, and I think trying to find an exit for overly inflated wages. I mean, Varane, I think, is on 350 a week. Casemiro's on 350 a week. These are insane wages for players that are regularly injured and probably past their best, and definitely on the wrong side of 30. So, from a financial standpoint, it makes sense. So Ratcliffe open talks over 70 million United deal for Lenny Yoro. Okay, so reports in France seem to be accelerating on this, and the British billionaire wants to bring in a much younger core of players, having criticized the club behind the scenes for overspending on aging stars such as Casemiro and Varane. The former Madrid pair among those big names on the chopping block. And the 18-year-old has rapidly emerged as the best young defender in League One. This is also including Jean-Claire Todibo, who it seems like United are very closely linked with as well. Now, remember, I think there's going to be two, potentially three centre halves brought in. Because Varane can't be relied upon. Martinez does get injured. Harry Maguire will probably be sold. Victor Lindelof, they are extending his contract, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him being gotten rid of. Now, they're going to have to maintain some level of experience, but Maguire will be gone. Varane can't be relied upon. You might see Lindelof sold as well. And I mean, we're linked with Scalvini over in Italy, Jean-Claire Todibo. There's obviously Goncalo Inacio, Andre Silva at Benfica, Inacio being at Sporting Lisbon, and there's a whole host of other ones as well that we're being linked with. So the teenage central defender stands at 6'3" and has drawn favourable comparisons with Saliba. And Lille have tried to scare off his suitors PSG by slapping a massive fee on his head, 90 million. But yeah, it's believed that Ratcliffe will go in with a bid of around 70 million. And again, with these young kind of players, as long as their wages aren't too high and they, listen, I mean, when you're going from 20 grand at Ajax with Anthony, there's no reason to be paying him 200 grand. Give him 50 grand, 60 grand. He's going to rip your hand off. As long as the selling club Ajax, that was the issue. Ajax didn't want to replace him so late in the window. As long as the transfer fee is okay, Ajax will let him go. If you say, Anthony, right, we'll give you 50 grand a week for year one. If you hit these targets, you're on 100 grand a week. You need to incentivize these players. Giving these guys 200 grand off the bat without banging in a single goal, getting an assist, or running a single click. I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. So while a January deal looks a tall order, United could well look to strike an agreement now that sees the move go through at the end of the season. I say this all depends on Casemiro and Varane. If they find clubs in January, replacements will be bought. United won Yavi Guerra. Now there's huge noise about Yavi Guerra, and apparently this kid is hot shit. A very good defensive midfielder. So yeah, seen as a kind of the ideal replacement for Casemiro. So the 20-year-old is regarded one of La Liga's hottest prospects, having debuted for Los Che, Valencia. So his progress saw the midfielder rewarded with a new deal. That arrangement contains a mammoth €100 million release clause, and reportedly United have a confidence that a deal can be done for significantly less. Well, I mean, of course it should be. A 20-year-old shouldn't be going for 100 million. 100 million is for finished articles who've done it for maybe 2 or 3 seasons in a row. Not when you're 20 and still have potential. Clubs can say, well, that's what he's worth to us. We've seen plenty of CEOs, most notably at Napoli when Koulibaly and other players in Italy where, when Milinkovic-Savic, and it was like, oh, it's going to take 90 million, 100 million for us to release these players. People say, fuck off. And then they end up staying at the club for 2 or 3 years and then moving for 20 million quid to somewhere else. So, if you can get a kind of 2 or 3x return on what you've spent on the player, it's usually a good idea to sell them. To that end, Valencia need to balance their books, and coach Ruben Baraja is well aware his side are vulnerable to the sale of their top stars. Now, according to reports in Spain, a deal of up to 40 million could be enough to convince them to sell. It'd be nice to see United bend someone over for a change when it comes to a deal. So like Euro, that deal is slotted to go through in the summer rather than in January, but have no doubt that the summer's business will be discussed in January. So yeah, Varane and Casemiro combined 540 grand. So between them, it's over 2 million quid a month in wages just for those guys. So between now and the end of the season, I mean, that's 12 million quid just in wages that you'd be clearing off the decks. So yeah, it's a lot. So yeah, they're the two players there, Javi Guerra and Lenny Yoro. Watch this space, because I think we're going to be getting at least one of those two players if reports are to be believed. So incredibly good teen in United training and may make debut versus Wigan. If ever there was a lack of creativity in a headline and just it does what it says on the tin, it's that. So this is the player in question. Aronson. Sorry, not Aronson. Isaac Hansen Aaron. Picture training with United first team as the youngster looks to make his debut for United in the third round against Wigan. That's going to be on Monday. So amid all the uncertainty surrounding the future of one of the club's brightest teenage talents, Isaac Hansen Aaron is reportedly increasingly likely to leave Old Trafford in 2024. His possible inclusion against Wigan could pave the way for a U-turn. This guy is very highly thought of. There's a lot of excitement about this kid. There has been for the last couple of years. His pre-season form was quite impressive. He played in a lot of the United pre-season games, got great experience, and did stand out in a couple of games despite his tender years. And a lot of United fans that do follow the youth players, including myself, are quite excited about this kid. There's a lot of noise about him. Obviously, it's very difficult to force your way into any Premier League team, let alone United, at such a young age. There's always going to be large amounts of experienced talent you've got to try and oust, but we've seen it before, and we will see it again. So why not him? So they keep, inverted commas, incredibly good Hansen Aaron. Is that like his nickname? Yeah, so he's taken part in training along with Dan Gore. Dan Gore is another player that's coming through United's youth team that seems to have a big name attached to what he's doing in the lower ranks. There was talk about Dortmund wanting to come in for Dan Gore in the summer, but it seems that United do want to keep a hold of him. Joe Hugel recently was awarded a new contract. There's a lot of confidence in his ability to be able to kick on and potentially come into the first team as a backup striker if and when needed. So he had a good pass on the first goal, Ten Hag told the United website after Hansen Aaron shone on his return to Norway. You can see that he's very comfortable with the ball. He also has some nice jabs, which is passes, and showed good vision. He is, of course, a young player, has some small things to work on, but we want to tell him that, show him, and then work with him to get those right movements. So yeah, it'd be great to see another United young lad coming through and getting a chance to shine, and hopefully kind of stake a bit of a claim for the first 22. So there he is there. Nice little assortment of fridge magnet-esque tattoos on him. But yeah, exciting young player, and I'll be keeping an eye out for him in the match against Wigan. So yeah, an article I've been looking forward to covering. Sir Jim Ratcliffe already proven he's entirely different to the Glazers with shift and impact. So yeah, he basically is showing that he's going to be a present leader, doing things already in his tender couple of weeks to show that he's very different than the Glazers. So he grew up a fan of the club, as we know, and he's been closely monitoring United's situation. So the three wise men, it's going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Brailsford, and then of course Jean-Claude Blanc, and Rob Nevin, just another man that's connected to these guys, pledged to be present while working at United, which is a sharp contrast to the Glazers' style of operation. So yeah, it's been made clear by Ratcliffe to everyone at the club that he is not in this for profit. Listen, he's made his billions. The man has had success in Formula One, cycling. You know, he's not in this for the money, unlike the Glazers. That's why the stadium's fallen to shit. These guys were not in it for money. They were winning as long as the profit margins were strong. So in the eyes of the Glazers, they have done a fantastic job with United over the last couple of years, which from a financial standpoint, they have. Look what they bought the club for, and look what they've sold a quarter of it for. They've sold a quarter of it for double what they bought the entire club for 15 years ago. That is exceptionally good business, but they're terrible football club owners. So Sir Jim has kind of assured everyone that he's coming in and will measure the success of the club by the trophies it earns and not by the bottom line. So he stated that he's not looking to recoup the 1.3 billion he spent. Rather, he will measure United's success by what they do on the pitch. I mean, Jesus, that is just music to every United fan's ears. I mean, that's just going to make, I'm not going to say it. For the club to get back to where Ratcliffe and the rest of the supporters want to be, however, improvements have to be made, like the ones that Ronaldo stated during his exit from his acrimonious exit from the club. We're not going to go into what he said. We all know what he said. It's really left a sour taste in my mouth, despite what he said might be true. Didn't like to see my boy Ronnie, doing what you're not supposed to do, which is talking smack about the club when you're under contract with them. And even afterwards, it's best just to keep your mouth shut, particularly when you're so beloved by the fans. But yeah, Sir Jim coming in and having a chat with all the United staff in one of the lounge rooms at Carrington, and introducing themselves and letting everyone know, listen, this is why we're here, this is what we plan on doing, and it's the professional, proper way to do things. And it's believed that everyone came out of that meeting feeling very invigorated about their vision for the club and what all the staff have to look forward to over the coming months and hopefully years. So yeah, as reported by Jason Sutar here, this came out late Friday evening, and this is Manchester United have offered Varane to La Liga champions Barcelona. There's also talk about United being in for Christensen, the Dane that used to play with Chelsea, who's been at Barcelona for the last couple of seasons. Apparently United are going after him. Could there be a swap? Who knows? So Varane obviously had a contract at the end of the season, and United, it's rumored they were saying they're not going to extend his contract. So then people thought they were going to let him go in the summer, but it turns out they do want to keep him, but it's going to be on reduced wages. And if he doesn't accept that, they might just get rid of him in the summer. But let's see what happens. It said that Varane is quite happy at United and does want to stay for all intents and purposes. Now, he did apparently, there was rumors that he did want to offer himself back to Real Madrid after his first season at United. And due to the way he left Madrid, Perez just considers him a bit of a Judas and wants nothing to do with him. It's all kind of playground stuff. It's quite funny when you think about it. But Jonathan Johnson, who's a French football expert, he wrote for Cut Offside that for the long term, there have been links with Saudi, but one to keep on sooner rather than later could also be his former club Lens. So he's not someone who really strikes me as a player who's going to have a really long career. That's fair. I think he's got another 2 or 3 years before his knees give out. He's just not going to be able to do what he's been able to do. So at this moment in time, Lens are doing very well, and they're in a financial position to put something tempting in front of Varane. I don't believe that. No French team bar PSG is going to be able to pay him the guts £250,000 a week. It's just not going to happen. And that's what he's going to be looking for. And he's definitely going to be getting it in Saudi. And if he only has 2 or 3 years left in the tank, there's no way he's going to be giving up those Saudi, tens or hundreds of millions that they get paid over there as a final payday before he hangs up his boots. He's won everything: World Cups, Champions Leagues, La Ligas. He's done it all. So why not get a big fat payday at the end of it? Why not? So he might have been linked with 2 of his former clubs, but Varane could end up at one of their arch rivals. This is according to Spanish outlet Nacional, who say the French World Cup winner has been offered to Real Madrid's rivals Barcelona. It's claimed Ten Hag's side view Varane as a problem. I don't know why that would be, and are trying to place him in a team, which has led them to offering him to a club with Jules Koundé, Indigo Martinez, Andreas Christensen, and Ronald Araujo. I always get that name wrong. So yeah, it looks like Ten Hag doesn't have him in his plans. But again, what do you believe these days? I think they'd like to keep Varane on for another season or two if he's willing to kind of come down to about 200 grand a week, which I think is fair given his injury record. You can't realistically expect to get paid that. But yeah, who knows what Varane is gonna end up doing? United will accept close to 20 million for Varane this month. I'd be fine with that. Given his high wages, you're doing well to get 20 million for a player like that. So it's added that Madrid chairman Florentino Perez has refused to re-sign his former player. Perez is apparently still fuming after Varane betrayed him. So what do you guys think? Would you like to keep Varane? I mean, please, thoughts in the comments. Let me know. Listen, if you could get 350 grand, would I swap Varane for, you know, your man Lenny Yaro? Yes. Would I swap him for Jean-Claire Todibo? Yes. I mean, if would I keep him at the expense of bringing in one of these French starlets and potentially losing them? No. I mean, Varane has had his time at the club. This is his fourth season. He's only really had one good season, which was last season. He's been injured this season, and the seasons before that was obviously when Rangnick he was a disaster when he was fit, and his first season was quite poor with Varane, with Maguire. So, I mean, is his move, has his move been a success? Has it been worth the money that's been paid out for him? The answer is no. So, I mean, it's nice to have players of that caliber and experience around the place, but I think it's time that United change the profile of player that we have, the wages that we're paying, and to kind of clear the decks of the old guard and start making way for some of the hottest, best young talent in Europe, and see which of them can grasp their opportunity and rise to the top and create some healthy competition among young, fit, hungry players that take pride in wearing the badge and really want to take the opportunity with both hands. So up next, a nice little rumor from over the water in South America. Mind you, I'm in Ireland, so everything's over the water, really. So Erik ten Hag could look to improve his midfield this January by signing an exciting prospect. So there's our little chubby-cheeked wonder midfielder, Casemiro. How I love him so. Sorry, that's for another article. But Casemiro, as we know, hasn't been in the best of form, and he's been injured for 17 games this season. And, when you're looking as slow and frankly overweight as he did at the beginning of the season and playing as poorly as he did, and then he gets injured to miss 17 games, when you're on the kind of money he's on, you don't pay that for someone who's going to be getting splinters in their arse, and when they're not getting splinters in their arse, playing poorly on the pitch. I like Casemiro. He was probably one of our best players last year. He was transformative. Absolutely loved the guy for what he did last year, but it looks like he's those UFC fighters that once they get to a certain age, or once they take one knockout, guys that may have had no losses in their career or even one, they just take that first L or a bad knockout and they just go on this avalanche of losses afterwards. Their form just falls off a cliff. That just happens to some footballers. We've seen it, like Eden Hazard, Wayne Rooney, and Casemiro might be one of those players, So as a result, United are looking at a player called Andre. So according to a report from Brazilian outlet Trivela, earlier this week, United are interested in signing Andre. So this is the picture that I had earlier. That's the young man right there. And he's been labeled as one of South America's biggest jewels by football talent scout Jacek Kulig. Fulham and Liverpool are also looking at him as well. He's 17 million quid. So another player today, Marcus Leonardo, he who is at Santos. I covered him months ago in an episode saying United should go for this kid. A wonderful footballer, small kind of Tevez Rooney build on him, beautiful touch on him, fantastic finishing, absolute sniper. And Benfica have just bought him for 17 or 18 million quid, and I guarantee you they're going to be selling him in 2 to 3 years' time for 70, 80, 90, 100 million quid to some Spanish or English team. I'm absolutely telling you now, given Benfica's track record of getting very high transfer fees for good-ish potential players, I'm telling you now, I'm raging United didn't get that guy. So if you follow me on Twitter, if you haven't already, InsideManUtdPod on Twitter, check us out. Please subscribe. Always kind of putting stuff up during the day, little stories I hear, not everything that I can cover on a news episode. I put up a post yesterday about that transfer, and I'm hoping to look very smug about that now in 2 or 3 years' time when he eventually does get a big move from Benfica. So the very best of luck to him, and I hope we see him in a United shirt in a couple of years. So apparently 17 million can be enough to secure this player from over in South America. So they're saying the style of play. I mean, I hate the way they do this because they're both Brazilian and they're midfielders. Well, one's replacing the other. Casemiro is a completely different player to this kid, Andre. Okay, Andre's an attacking midfielder. Casemiro is a defensive midfielder. It's quite. It's quite obvious that they're not the same player. So United could cash in on their number 18 with the view of investing in Andre as his replacement. It's nonsense. The 22-year-old has become a key player for Fluminense, featuring 60 times for the club and playing 75% of his matches in a defensive role. But the table below gives a concise look at the number 7 style of play by looking at his statistics from last year. Passes completed, top 1%. Pass into final third, top 8%. Tackles won in the top 26%. But again, he's playing in a very dominant team, so he's not going to be throwing in as many tackles or needing to win the ball as much. So he mightn't be as attacking as his statistics may look because he's in an attacking team. But to me, he seems to be, as they say here, a roaming playmaker. Is Casemiro a roaming playmaker? No, he's got a good long pass on him, but he is a defensive midfielder. So as you can say, he's got a completely different profile from Casemiro, the former being described as a roaming playmaker. So because they have so much possession of Fluminense and they're such a dominant team, he can just kind of, sit back and do things with the ball because he doesn't have to be throwing in tackles all the time. So you can just get a quick look at the statistics there. Successful take-ons, top 14%, top 8%. Passes completed, top 1%. Pass completion, short, medium, long. So 96, 97, 79. Pretty good numbers there. Furthermore, the Brazil star plays in Fernando Diniz's demanding side, which is fluid and willing to play the ball out from the back. So Ten Hag also wants to progress using his goalkeeper, Onana. Obviously with Alessandro Martinez as well. And apparently his calmness in possession and his ability to evade the press using his quick feet and awareness is also going to be a big plus for this player as well. So his defensive stats aren't near Casemiro's, who averages 3 tackles per 90. But that's always going to be the case when he plays for a side that dominates the ball. So however, his energy and ability to win duels in the middle of the park make up for that. So he's plenty of room to develop. Definitely one for the future, but apparently United looking at him, and absolutely why not? I think United should be scouting for the very best players around the world, not just players that Erik Ten Hag has either managed or come from the Netherlands, or, aging stars that are looking for a fat paycheck off United. I think it's time we got our scouting department motoring and finding the very best talent out there and getting it in and not getting our pants pulled out. So there's the young man right there. So keep your ear to the ground. And finally, Jadon Sancho loan to Borussia Dortmund being finalized as Anthony Martial attracts interest. United have reached verbal agreement with Dortmund over the loan of Sancho. Apparently, there is no obligation to buy. There was a rumor that there could be an obligation to buy for 25 million. I don't believe that for a fucking second. The reason being is he's still very young. He's being put in the shop window by Dortmund for 6 months. And if he absolutely blows it out of the park, Sancho doesn't want to stick at Dortmund. If he's going to play in Germany, he'd want to play at Bayern. He wants to get a move to a big club. End of story. And a big club that can afford to pay the kind of wages that he has become accustomed to. Now, he's probably not going to be getting 350 grand or 300 or 250, or there's differing reports on that. But what this is going to do is all United need is a bidding war. Okay, then it doesn't matter what the relationship between the player and the club is. That only matters when there's one team going in for you. But if you get a bunch of interest from a number of different teams, those teams are competing with each other for the signature, not with you and your desire to want to get rid of the player. So if he absolutely knocks it out of the park in Germany, which I've every belief that he will, because it's a tier 2 league and he'll tear it up there, provided he's fit and he can get his shit together. Mind you, he doesn't have, an Erling Haaland finishing off all those lovely assists that he was firing over. But yeah, apparently Martial is attracting interest, while United have been offered Timo Werner. God, I hope not. And Eric Choupo-Moting, Stoke reject, who's just having a couple of good seasons here and there at Bayern. That's unfair to say Stoke reject. He's not a bad player, to be fair, but a 34-year-old second choice striker for Bayern Munich doesn't exactly get the juices flowing now, does it? So United and Dortmund have reached a broad agreement for the loan signing of Jadon Sancho. There's a willingness from all parties to get the deal done. Dortmund wants to join their warm weather training camp in Marbella, so the deal is a straight loan with Sancho's long-term future to be assessed in the summer Of course, there's no way United are going to accept 25 million off Dortmund, and I don't think Sancho wants to go there either. His contract runs until 2026. This is just a great place for him to maintain fitness, get his name back in the shop window, secure a move in the summer. United get a nice transfer fee. He hopefully finds a good club, and Dortmund get a decent player for the next 6 months to try and put some sort of a title charge, or maybe try and win some silverware. So he's not played for United since the 3-2 win over Forest on August 26th. And it just goes in once again to all the blurb about why he's out of the team. So apparently Martial not having his contract extended, so United willing to let him go for free, potentially even in January, so they don't have to pay him $1 million a month between now and the summer. So if they find a bidder, great. But I think even if they don't, if they find a club that just want to take him, I think they'd be happy just to let him go, because he's not really doing anything at United. He's a bit of a scarecrow. He's useless, and we're paying him £1 million a month. So 250 grand a week. So Martial is free to talk to clubs outside of England, having entered the final 6 months of his current United deal. And it doesn't look like there's any interest in keeping him. If he remains at Old Trafford, it's looking increasingly like he'll leave for free in the summer. So I think United would prefer to not pay him £6 million and let him leave for free in the summer, and probably just let him go somewhere in January. But if they can secure a fee, obviously that would be a bonus. But I think more than anything, they just want to get him the hell off their wage bill and just get him out of the club. So United manager Ten Hag said the club are talking to Martial about his future. The forward has started 7 games in all competitions, scoring twice. It's thought United have been offered a number of strikers, including Timo Werner and Choupo-Moting. But as of yet, formal discussions have not taken place over those incomings. But of course, if Martial leaves, they're going to have to find a replacement for him. Serhou Guirassy, that's the other striker that we've been linked with, who's absolutely banging them in for Stuttgart. He'd be my preference, just because I think it's a fun story. He's come out of nowhere, nice age profile. He's cheap. He'll be good backup. He'll be easier to get rid of. And it's just an exciting story that this guy's just absolutely rinsing the Bundesliga with a bad Stuttgart team, and he's absolutely rolling them in. So I'd love to see him come to United and do something exciting. I'm not excited by Werner or Choupo-Moting, but either way, I think we're going to see someone come in, even if Martial leaves. And that is all the best news for today. So what are your thoughts on those news headlines? Please, all opinions, thoughts, please lash them into the comments. And I've really enjoyed the last few comments I've been getting on the videos. Love engaging with people. So if you have any thoughts on those news articles and what you think about the players coming, going, who you'd keep, who you'd let go, what mistakes you think we're making, or what changes we need to make, please let me know. So yeah, interesting stuff there about Varane. Do you want to keep him? Should we let him go? Do we need to just usher in a new age now and get rid of these, the face of aging, creaking, and expensive players? Maybe it's time to kind of ring the changes on that front as well. And listen, it seems like youth is the order of the day for Ten Hag and Ineos, with every single player we're linked to being on 22 or younger, apart from the striking department, where it looks like we're going to have to get a little bit creative and work within our budgets if we do see the back of Anthony Martial in January. But as always, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, hit the notification. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.